Certainly college football is very different than it was 12 months ago. College football has become unrecognizable from where it was 4 years ago when I became the head coach at Arizona. And certainly it's a completely different animal than 10 years ago when last at Michigan. But I would say all those changes are off the field. On the field, it's still 11 on 11. On the field, it still requires 18 to 23-year-olds to play physical, emotionally and mentally tough game, a challenging sport that requires every kid and every coach to compete at the highest level. That has not changed. We can't ever forget that. And we can't ever forget that no matter what we think of the game and with compensation and some of the changes that have occurred, we still have never lost that. And that part will not change. And I don't ever see that ever really being any different than it is today. Also, I want to just say that we continue to always emphasize player safety, academic support, and mental health. So as a program and a university, very proud of where we are in those areas. We were able to get 4 sports psychologists this season for our program. We were able to get a 3.27 GPA for our program. And we certainly have done a great job keeping our players healthy. Since the game on December 31st, I want to take a moment to congratulate Steve Belichick to joining his dad at North Carolina and thank him for his service as our defensive coordinator last year and wish him the very best. I know that Coach and Steve will do a fantastic job in Chapel Hill, and I'm very happy for them and for what they have going on there. I also want to congratulate Brennan on being the offensive line coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And he too is joining his dad in coaching in the NFL. BC and I have been together 2011, 2012, 2021, 2, 3, and 4. So for 6 years, he and his family, me and my family have spent together, and it's been a great partnership, and I'm super excited for BC and for Pete in their next endeavor over at the Raiders. It is so cool for Coach to get his 4th NFL head coaching job. I know the Raiders are going to be filled with energy, passion, and enthusiasm, and it's certainly a great opportunity for the Carroll family and the Belichick family to be able to coach together, and we are super happy for them. And then finally, I want to congratulate Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio, both of which have an opportunity to compete and win in a Super Bowl this week. Obviously, very good friends of mine, mentors, and super excited for those guys. Also, I want to make sure that we're clear on a few other things. There were a ton of interviews on who we interviewed and who we were going to hire and some of the things of who we were bringing in and who we weren't bringing in and who came here and who didn't. 99.9% of those were untrue. Okay? I did not speak to one person about a position on our offensive staff. I did not speak to more than one person for a position as our defensive coordinator. So I want to make sure we're very clear that the only people that we have spoken to regarding our offensive staff or our defensive staff are in the room today. I want to let you know that I'm extremely excited about the stability of our offensive staff, our running back coach, our wide receiver coach, our tight end coach, and our now offensive coordinator, Jimmy Doherty, have all been together for 5 years. Extremely excited to also promote Mike Switzer to be our offensive line coach, who we've been together for 4 years. Switz has been with us in 2015, 2016, 2022, 2023, 2024, and he has an opportunity to lead his room at John Carroll as the offensive coordinator and line coach, at Indiana State as the offensive coordinator and O-line coach, and now he'll have the chance to be our offensive line coach here at the University of Washington. Having Jimmy as our offensive coordinator means a great deal to me. I've been with Jimmy 2016, 2017 at Michigan and at UCLA. He was the first person that joined us at Arizona in 2021, 2022, 2023, and he was the first person that I went to discuss this job at the University of Washington, and was the first person on the plane in 2024. Jimmy's coached here in the past. Jimmy was the offensive coordinator at San Jose State after here, and then when we were able to bring him to Michigan, I certainly felt that we had a fantastic football coach. If you look at the players he's recruited, since I've been with him, we signed at wide receiver at UCLA, some of the best wide receivers that have gone through UCLA. Kyle Phillips being one of them that stands out, Chase Cota being another one that stands out, and some of the great receivers that UCLA has had. And then when you look at the quarterbacks that we brought in, Noah Fafita, Jaden DeLora, Damon Williams, have all been recruited by Jimmy. So certainly excited about the opportunity to have him lead the offense as we move forward. Also excited about the fact that we're able to stay with great stability on offense by keeping everybody else intact, as well as keeping all of our young coaches. However, we are allowing Luke Del Rio to go join his dad for 6 months as the offensive coordinator of the Paris Musketeers of the European League of Football, and then we will bring him back in August to help our program after those 6 months that he's with his dad. On the defensive side, I'm extremely honored to introduce our new defensive coordinator, who you'll be hearing from today. Ryan Walters is probably the best defensive coordinator in the country. And hiring Ryan was a huge priority for us. He was the candidate that I went after immediately upon having the final conversation with Steve, that he has chosen to go to North Carolina. Steve and I spoke about what we needed here. Steve was an amazing ally, an amazing friend, and we certainly felt that everything that Ryan had to offer is perfect for what we needed. He has experience as a head coach. If you look at the 4 CFP semifinalist teams, all 4 of them had a head coach on that staff. Kyle Flood, the former head coach at Rutgers, was on Texas's staff. Tom Allen, the former head coach at Indiana, was on James Franklin's staff at Penn State. Al Golden, the former head coach at Miami, was on Marcus Freeman's staff at Notre Dame. And Chip Kelly, the former head coach at Oregon at UCLA, was on Ryan Day's staff. I felt, along with Pat and Aaron, that to bring somebody in with head coaching experience was going to be critical to our success. In addition, you look at his success as a defensive coordinator at Illinois. In the Big Ten, no more than 3 years ago, he had the #1 scoring defense in the country, letting up 12.3 yards per game. The #2 total defense in the country, the #10 rush defense, the #8 pass defense, the #1 defense in interceptions, having 24 interceptions in 2022, the #9 defense in third down defense, and the #1 red zone defense in the country, all in 2022. So to be able to bring somebody in that has had that kind of success, I think is critical for what we needed at this time. Additionally, I want to make sure that I also congratulate Coach Vinny Cincinnati on being named the safeties coach at the University of Florida. With Coach Cincinnati and Coach Belichick leaving, it gave us an opportunity to add an additional coach as a safeties coach, and we were able to replace Coach Cincinnati with the best high school football player to be in the state of Washington. The #1 player in the 2006 class, the 11th best player in the country, graduate of O'Day High School, 2nd-round pick for the San Francisco 49ers, 3-time All-American, 3-time Rose Bowl participant, 5-star prospect, Taylor Mays, to be our safeties coach. And when you could bring in somebody that has been there and done that, and has been an NFL player, a 2nd-round pick, a 5-star, and all that goes along with it, we felt like that has been a huge, huge part of the success of our program moving forward. He's also the son of a former UW standout and 9-year NFL player at Stafford Mays, and we're extremely excited to have Taylor come and work with us. Additionally, the rest of our defensive staff has stayed intact. We have promoted John Richardson to secondary coach, and he will be responsible for the back end, which the corners, the nickels, and the safeties, and really excited about continuing to have Coach Richardson on staff with us. He's done a fantastic job both at Arizona and here, and I believe that we have two fantastic corners that he's certainly looking forward to coaching this year that both have first and second round talents. We've also promoted Aaron Van Horn to our outside linebacker coach. Aaron has been with us since 2016 at Michigan, and that is a huge part of what we're trying to do, which is promote from within and continue to give opportunities to people on our staff. Coach Kafusi and Coach Bala will continue on. Coach Kafusi as the run game coordinator, defensive line coach, Coach Bala as our inside linebackers coach, and I feel like we have a fantastic defensive staff. Finally, we've added one strength coach. We added the head strength coach at Southern Miss to be our offensive line strength coach. He played offensive line. He won the Remington Award. He has been somebody that was a captain and All-American at center, and we felt to have somebody that was trained in the Alabama system as well as led his own team as the head strength coach will be a huge asset for our program. All of our other assistant strength coaches, Coach Kramer, Coach Thompson, Coach Brose, Coach Mitchell, will all be returning. And then other than our staff, I'm also excited to say that we are in a fantastic position with our team. We will have 85 scholarship players participating in spring ball. Last year, we had 61. We will have 16 transfers that will all be participating in spring ball. Kai Horton, Amori Evans, Kate Eldridge, Carver Willis, Garen Hatchett, Ryan Keene, CJ Christian, Alex McLaughlin, Takario Davis, X-Ray Alexander, Buddha, Jacob Manu, Tai Ungalele, Ontario Thompson, and Samote Pepa are all here. They're all participating. They're all working out, and they will all be a part of a spring football. So in addition to the fact that we have 15 walk-ons, we'll be able to have what looks about 110 players participating in spring football, which will help us get better. Finally, I'll just say this, winning starts within. And it starts within our building, within the locker room, within our program, within the weight room. It's gonna start within every confine of the meeting space, and then everything they do outside of our building. It's gonna start with how close we become, how connected we are, and what a great job we can be to make each and every player on our team get to know each other quickly. We have 44 new faces out of 85 scholarship players. So they gotta start getting to know each other quickly. We'll take the microwave approach, and we will see how fast we can get this thing cooking. Coaches are talking about canceling their spring game. We will not do that. As a matter of fact, we would like to sell out our spring game. We would like it publicized on CBS, NBC, ABC, and ESPN. We want to make sure that everybody sees what we're doing at the University of Washington and make sure that our program is in the forefront of what's being done. We are excited about what we have. We're excited about what we're doing. I'm sure that our game will be on Friday night, May 2nd at 6:30 p.m. The goal is to sell it out. The baseline or the floor is 40,000. So we have a 20-game win streak on the road or on the line. We will at least have a 20.5 win streak, as half the team will win. So we will continue that as we go. February 11th, we have a head coach social where all the head coaches in the state of Washington and Oregon, we would love to have you attend. April 4th and 5th, we have a coaches clinic. We will have at least one, if not two, Super Bowl winning head coaches speak at that clinic, and we're very much looking forward to selling that out. And then our spring ball will be every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday the month of April, starting April 2nd, ending May 2nd. So to conclude, year two, I feel a lot more settled in, a lot more excited about where things are headed, and feel like we're in a great spot, and appreciate all of you for being here. Questions?
Jedd, how much more, I guess, lack of a better word, additions can you expect to make to the offensive line between now and September? Or do you think your starting five are already on campus?
Well, we have 17 offensive linemen right now on campus, or 16 on campus, scholarship players. I love the fact that we brought in Carver Willis. I love the fact that Drew has a party, has another year with us. I love the fact that Landon Hatchett is not coming off of an ACL. I love the fact that we now have competition with Max McCree and Swanee Fasolo. I think we have some fantastic young players that are here. We have 4 of the guys that we signed out of 5 are here right now. They'll be participating in spring ball. They're all over 340 pounds. They're all over 6'5", walking in the door. Our offensive line is going to look extremely different. We have Garen Hatchett coming back, who's got a lot of experience. So the 2 adds with Willis and Hatchett, the idea that we were able to keep all of the offensive linemen that we felt like were going to help us win this year. The idea that we'll have 9 more than we did last year at this time. I feel like we're in a great spot and really have no interest in bringing anybody else in.
Coach, you were pretty adamant at times about staying at that 85 number. Numbers, we have a tough time wrapping our eyes around it, but it looks like you've got 93 right now. Is that 85 number fluid? If not, how do you plan on getting down to that?
Yeah, well, I think everything's fluid. There's another transfer window, April 15th to the 25th. I think that all of us know that we need to plan accordingly, that there are certain players that go in the portal. You just always have to plan for that. You can't ever predict a 0 portal entry program. And then we'll have to plan accordingly on how that looks after the portal closes. But we'll always have the opportunity to talk with our administration and see where we land and see what that looks like. But we're always going to plan to have 85 guys. So to do that, you've got to get a little extra cushion nowadays.
You mentioned that Ryan Walters is the best defensive coordinator in the country. Why do you think that? And also, bringing up the head coaching experience, why is having that experience valuable for a coordinator?
Well, I think what we were able to have is, if you look statistically, on the last time he was a defensive coordinator, they were the best in every category. So I felt confident in saying that. And the second part of it is I love how he's been interacting with our staff. I love the fact that he's been a coordinator in the SEC and in the Big Ten and a head coach. I love the fact that he has done a tremendous job everywhere he's done, getting players drafted into the NFL. And then also feel great about the idea that having those 2 years sitting in that head coach chair really gives a perspective of what we're going through, what we need to get accomplished. And I know working with our staff, the way he'll be able to get the best out of Coach Kafusi and Coach Richardson and Coach Bala, Coach Mays, Coach Van Horn, will also be a great asset for all of us.
Garen Hatchett, Jacob Manu, and Javon Parker, who are coming off season-ending injuries. Curious what those guys' timelines are, when you can kind of expect them to be back practicing and then full speed and all that.
Yeah, I think all of them are on different timelines right now. We're hopeful that Garen will be able to participate in the springtime. We're hopeful that everything goes according to plan with Javon, and he'll be cleared August 1st. It's about a 9-month Achilles situation. And then with Jacob Manu, he had his ACL in the Colorado game, which I think was like the second week in October or so. So he'd be a little bit further behind.
Where does Willis play? Is he a right tackle for you, or?
He's right now. We have him listed as a tackle, and we're going to see where that competition goes. But I believe watching him play right now, he's a pretty athletic dude that can certainly play on the left side. And I think we'll have great competition between Max McCree and Swanee and Carver, and then great competition with Drew on that side as well. We'll make sure that there's what we didn't have a year ago was competition. We had nobody pushing guys to get better all spring, and now we have that opportunity to do that, and that'll make a huge difference.
You mentioned college football is kind of unrecognizable in certain respects. Just take us through as much as you can what that December period was like, not knowing if Steve was coming back, recruiting defensive linemen in, balancing a new potential defensive scheme. Just kind of, if you could, what was that last month like for you?
Yeah. Well, I would just say this. First of all, when Coach Belichick took the North Carolina job, I couldn't have been happier. I spoke with him very often during that time, and I had an inclination that Steve was going to go there, and I was really happy for Steve and his family, and the opportunity to get back to coaching with his dad. When that was going on, I was researching, who had ties to that system, and the fact that Brett Bielema came from New England the year before I did. And he went to Illinois, and when he hired Coach Walters, then I knew that there was a really good tie-in, that the system didn't have to completely be revamped. That it's another reason that I want to keep a lot of what we did. We did a lot of great things. We finished 28th in the country against the pass. We moved up, I think 60 or 70 spots. Or excuse me, we're top 10 in the pass. We were 28th in total defense, and we moved up, I believe it was 71 spots from 2023 to 2024. And when you can do that, you don't want to revamp it again. So the idea that Coach Walters has a lot of similar philosophy made him extremely intriguing.
What happened with the Jonte Cook situation?
He's no longer on our team.
Expand on that?
How hard is it to balance vetting players in such a condensed amount of window? Because you talked at nauseam about when should the window be. Is kind of that a byproduct of not being able to vet guys as well as maybe you would like to in a more spread out or later stage situation?
Yeah, I think we're all dealing with the situations that go on in college football where you recruit high school kids for a year or two and you recruit transfer kids for 12 minutes. So those things at different times work out phenomenally well, and other times maybe not as well. But in the end, whatever decisions players make or we make, those are decisions that we put a lot of thought into, that we, made with the future in mind. And we had to make what we thought was the best decision for the program at that time. And, we wish him the very best.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Touched on it, the relationship. Sounds like Brett Bielema was in play there. Just what was it about Washington that made you feel like this was the next step in your coaching endeavor?
So, when the decision was made to dive right back into this profession and call plays again, there were certain things that I was looking for that were non-negotiables, and Washington checked all those boxes in large in part because of who Coach Fisch is, what his experience is. He's got 15 years of coaching the NFL. That was attractive. Really focused on player development. That was also very attractive. Had heard a lot of good things about the defensive staff. Obviously, the ability to win and win at a high level. Familiarity with the conference, in the location. I think UW is unique in that it's in a major market where you still get the college experience, but the alumni base is still resides in Seattle, and so I think from a networking standpoint and a life after ball, it's attractive for high school recruits, and just Coach Fisch's emphasis on being a pro, outside and inside of football, were all things that are in line with how I view this profession and development of student athletes.
Ryan, when Jedd says you're the best defensive coordinator in the country, what's your reaction to that?
I agree.
And why do you agree?
Because that's what I've done. The last time I was in charge of calling plays and running the defense, we did something special at Illinois in a 2-year span. Also had a lot of success at Mizzou in a tough conference, and I've never been more motivated and more hungry to get back to that.
Do you
You think you'll ever want to be a head coach again?
We'll see with the opportunity presents itself. Right now I'm focused on putting the best product on the field to help University of Washington win football games.
What's your philosophy on defense, attacking style, without getting too much in the weeds? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there are things that are musts on defense. Effort and physicality. We'll be great in the red zone. We'll be great on third downs. We'll be great taking the football away. We'll be multiple. Coach Fisch alluded to the schematically being very similar to what UW was a year ago. So I believe in presenting different pictures up front. Attacking offenses, especially on early downs, to get advantageous third down situations. And then we'll be great on third down and great in the red area.
Talk about coming home.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I've been really fortunate to just be kind of provided this opportunity to come home. And it's funny, when you leave Seattle out of high school, you think, okay, I got to go and leave this world. And then a couple years later, I'm like, man, I wish I could go back to Seattle. So it's awesome that it kind of played out like this and that I'm able to come back home. And I'm just really excited for this opportunity.
And your connection still to O'Day, Coach Kohler, and recruiting?
Yeah, of course. And Coach Kohler lives really close to my parents. So we've been grown into great family friends with him and his family. And then that tie and relationship has just grown over the years since I left high school. So, we're not even just coach and former player. We're more kind of really close family members. And it's just been awesome. And now, those ties to O'Day High School hopefully will benefit from them.
What did you do from 2018 to 22 before you joined up back at USC with Lincoln?
Yeah, so when I got done playing, I kind of, you think you're prepared to stop playing football, and it hits you kind of like a brick wall all the same, right? And so I was going to do actually some broadcasting and worked a little bit in broadcasting. And it didn't really feel right because broadcasting, you kind of following the story and trying to, stay in the news and stuff like that. And I kind of like being more behind the scenes. So, I went and talked to Coach Helton at USC about finishing school so that I could be like a GA or student assistant. And then he said, that sounds like a great opportunity. COVID happened, so then I had to wait and started that season after COVID.
Who reached out first, you or the you, in making this job happen?
I reached out first. I think when Coach Sanseri left, you're kind of following the tracker of what's happening. And so, no, I reached out first, or at least I think I did. I tried to. And kind of just went from there.
Jay Rich, you've got Takaria Davis back in your room. How does that just impact your room in 2025?
He's a good football player, talented young man, but more importantly, even better human. A no ego-driven type kid that wants to get better and wants to improve. And when you can add those guys in the room, that's really what you're trying to do.
You've got a new title this year. How do you see kind of the secondary coach role looking, especially with Taylor and some of the other graduate assistants you guys have now?
Well, the best part is I'm working, with a bunch of guys that are brilliant minds. So I'm looking to learn from them, but also too, the goal is to make sure Coach Walters can call every call on his call sheet, to be honest. And that's our job as assistant coaches, and we're gonna take pride in that. Of course, learning stuff from Taylor as well, and us working together in the back end to produce the best product. We don't take lightly that this is DBU, so we have to put our best foot forward, and every day that's what we're gonna work to do.
John, you have these veteran cornerbacks. You had them at the Sun Bowl, yet you started Leroy Bryant. Did he earn the spot, or was somebody hurt? And are you looking for a spot for him in some manner? Could he be a nickelback, or has he got to push all those veteran corners now for time?
Well, one thing that we always talk about is competition. Nobody's job is ever safe. So Leroy is coming in to compete. We look forward to him moving forward and progressing this year. He showed a lot of good things in that Sun Bowl game, and we look forward to him building off of that. As far as position that he'll play, we're going to put the best five out there to compete. So we'll see where it all lands. Tune in because it should be fun.
So he won The job for the Sun Bowl, he didn't just move up as an injury replacement or something.
He played in the Sun Bowl, so it was good. It was good by him to see what he had.
What were you guys looking for in the transfer portal at linebacker? Obviously, you lost quite a bit of experience there.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Experience. You know, the guys that we brought in had a lot of time on the field, had some connections out this way. I think the biggest thing that we got to replace is leadership. You know, with Carson, Zoe, and Drew Fowler, they did a great job leading this team. You know, to have 3 team captains in your room, there's a big hole to fill. But I think the guys have the qualities to do that. I think they need to lead by example first, and then start having some hard conversations with some players if they're not doing what the standard is. And so having those guys come in, they've done a great job acclimating to what we are, especially while we're on the road recruiting, and got a bunch of great reports about the guys, and really fired up to see where they're going to go from here.
What do you like about Zuri Alexander specifically?
Yeah, you know, he's got great size, you know, which we're looking for in the Big Ten. But he did a great job of finishing plays. You know, he had that thump at the point of contact, which we really liked, and what we know we have to do here in the Big Ten is stop the run. But also all the reports I got back was him as a person. So I thought he had the leadership and the communication ability to be able to be an extension of us as a coach and staff on the field.
Coach Caprusi, can you break down Simone Peppa, Uyunglele, and some of the defensive linemen you guys brought in? What were you looking for generally, kind of with those guys that you brought in?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of Coach Bala, you know, just being in the Big Ten and kind of seeing what you see in week and week out in terms of physicality in the run game. We want to bring in some bigger bodies. They can hold the double teams. They can be strong at the point of attack. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at when we're, you know, recruiting Peppa and Tai Tai and some of the other guys we brought in.
For Ryan, having the head coaching experience, how do you feel like that shifted your perspective as you're taking into this job, and how do you feel like you're a better coordinator than you were maybe 3 years ago?
Yeah, you know, you learn a lot. Obviously didn't have the type of success that I was used to having in my career. And a lot of times when you have failures, you grow. You know, you have a broader sense of program and a different perspective. And so I think that will help in sort of the managing aspect of being a coordinator. You know, I was also more heavily involved in the offensive side of the ball, you know, toward the end of the year, last year. So seeing the game from that lens and, you know, learning the ins and outs of how offenses are trying to attack a defense and what they're looking at and just, you know, ways to be, you know, strategic in that sort of chess match between the offensive defense side of the ball. I think will pay dividends moving forward as a defense coordinator.
Ron, you mentioned that, you know, after this decision to jump back into it, this was the right choice. What led to the decision to jump right back in as opposed to maybe taking a sabbatical or something?
Yeah, so, you know, I was fortunate, you know, from a financial standpoint to have that choice, right? And so, you know, obviously last season was tough and you know, got let go on a Sunday, and Monday I took the family to Disney World for a couple of days, and you know, I think it was day 3. My wife was like, "You need to go back to work." You know, so you know, you go 15 years in this profession, and you're always used to doing something, for 365 days a year, and so all of a sudden not to have anything to do, like I said, it was cool for about 2.5 days. Then you get the itch to be a part of a team. You know, you miss the relationships, you miss the development, the mentorship, and ultimately you miss competing. And that, you know, I'm as competitive a person as you're going to find. So to be able to get back into playing competitive football and working to get better and trying to help a prestigious university like Washington win a championship, you know, it was a no-brainer.
Aaron, what does it mean to you to get this opportunity from Jedd to be a full-time position coach? You spent time at Michigan, it looks like, and a few other spots. Just what does it mean to you to get that chance?
Yeah, just super appreciative of Coach Fisch, Coach Walters for the opportunity. Been with Coach for a while, and just always taking care of me, been good to me. Love working for him, believe in his vision, so excited.
You've got family here in the area. How much did that weigh into your decision to come back and Have you talked to your father about helping you with recruiting on internships and opportunities within the program?
Yeah, actually, I put that to the side, right? I didn't want to make a emotional decision when you're talking about, what next steps you're taking in your career. I know, they were excited and at the possibility. I was very, reserved on how much information I was giving them, so not to get their hopes up too much. But it's cool, right? It's very rare in this profession that you get to have, a set of parents that are in the same town. I haven't lived in the same area, as my folks since like 2009, and so it'll be good for the grandkids to see grandparents and my wife to have some familial help in the area. And then obviously with his ties to Microsoft, hopefully we can get some of those guys to come do some speaking engagements with the team and helping out with the network and the internships for Life After Ball.
Coach Balla, you lost basically the top 5 linebackers from last year, at least at the start of the season. Have to replace all of them. Can you just talk about the guys you brought in off of the portal, and as well as maybe a couple of your young guys?
Yeah, having open spots is a good problem to have. The competition aspect of our program, it's going to be really fun to see those guys go through and earn a job. But I think with their experience, they've all played big games and big conferences, and we feel like the moment's not going to be too big. Really excited about the young guys that are going to join us here, early enrollee, and they got a bright future ahead of them to be able to compete. And we like playing guys early. Throw them in the fire and see what they can do. And you can have the continuity over 3, 4, 5 years. So really excited about the freshman class that came in, but equally as excited about the transfers that we brought in, because I think it's going to be a smooth transition to the guys that we lost.
Ryan, what's your philosophy on playing and balancing freshmen versus veterans? Because sometimes you can't not play a guy if he's balling out, but at the same time, you obviously brought in veterans for a reason. Just kind of how to take us through your balance on that.
Yeah, to me, like what I love about football, it is non-discriminatory, right? It doesn't matter, how old you are, what color of skin you got, what's your socioeconomic background. The only thing that matters is what you put on tape from snap to whistle. And so, we are a competitive program, and so if you're in the top 11, then you can go play. And I think sort of my track record defensively speaks to that. I've had a freshman, true freshman safety, start game 1 and ended up with like 112 tackles, 6 picks, and was 13 All-American as a true freshman. So. Like I said, if you turn on the tape and the tape says you're ready to go play and compete and to try to help the university win a championship, then your butt better be out there playing. And so it's our job as a defensive staff to, especially in today's landscape where you have transfers, you got freshmen that you bring in, to be able to give them enough tools to have success on game day, but not overcomplicate it so that they can go play fast.
How's your recruiting ties been? Because I know it seems like a lot of it was mostly east of, let's just say, Texas. And how has your knowledge been in getting to know more West Coast recruits?
Yeah, this recruiting cycle has been fun just to get back on the West Coast. We've got obviously the logos is very well received out this way, and recruiting is about relationships, and that's something I take pride in, and so I've been very pleasantly surprised at the level of ball out this way, the level of coaching out this way, and like I said, the reception that UW has had on the West Coast.
Coach Balla, Coach Richardson, with Coach Belichick leaving to go to Carolina, he took with him a guy from each one of your rooms. Can you talk a little bit about that and how those conversations went and if it was awkward at all?
One thing you got to understand is you got to respect what people choose to do as a grown man. They decided to take an opportunity and they took it. And so wish them nothing but the best.
Yeah, I think relationships, I think that's what they chose to do on their path, and wish them all the best.
Jay Rich, CJ Christian said he talked to you when he came up on his visit to break down what he's. Can you break down the two safeties? Because I don't know how much Taylor's gotten to know about Alex McLaughlin. Just kind of maybe walk us through both elements of that to players, and then introduce him to Coach Mays.
Yeah, CJ, as you know, productive player at his previous location, which is always good when you bring in a transfer. But more importantly, he's intelligent and he loves the game of ball. He likes to be able to show different disguises and things like that, which is phenomenal. But also just being able to meet him and talk with him quite a bit has been great. He's a phenomenal young man, brings a lot to the table. And so it was good times, and looking to grow. And of course, Taylor be able to show him the ropes out there.
All right, thank you, defensive coach.
Jimmy, what does it mean to you to get this opportunity? Obviously, been with Jedd for a long, long time. What was that conversation like?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot on a lot of levels for me. Being back here in 2009, I like to think now that I have this opportunity to be the offensive coordinator. It's beyond my wildest dreams, really. It's a huge honor, one that I take very seriously. I don't take it lightly. It means a lot to me, obviously, to be with Coach Fisch, our history together, everything we've been able to do together, the success we've had together. It's a complete honor, and it's an honor to do it with the guys up here that are around me right now. Super excited to get going.
How do you approach this offseason with Demond? I mean, now that you're here in January or February now, I guess, and know who your starting quarterback is going to be, and he's going to have this whole offseason as QB1.
Yeah, sure. Just talking about Demond, I mean, I think we all saw it. Throughout the year, he just got better and better. And the fact that we were able to play him in every game, and we played him in critical moments in those games early in the year, and to watch his progression as the year went on, his command of the offense, it just got better and better, as it does with quarterbacks and with anybody really. But was super proud of him. And then obviously coming in the UCLA game and really giving us that spark to be able to win that game, what he did in crunch time with a lot riding on that game, was a big deal. And then obviously you saw kind of the jump, his first start to then the bowl game. And I think everybody saw that, obviously how he played in the bowl game. Because I think there's no better teacher, especially for quarterbacks, than experience, and I think that's why when you saw the bowl game, his decision-making was just that much faster, because now it wasn't his first start, it was his second start. And I'm so excited to keep that progression going with him. Very, very excited about having a full offseason with him and where we can take this thing. As we all know, he's got incredible talent. But again, it's different when you're the guy and you're the guy from day one of the offseason. And just very excited about where he is, but I'm really, really fired up about where he can take it.
How's your role change? I know you're heavily involved in the offense anyways. Does it really change that much? What's different? And then also talk about your decision to bring in a transfer quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of my role, I'm sure there'll be some things that are different, on a day-to-day, but how we operate won't change much. Obviously, Coach Fisch is going to call the plays, and my job is to assist him and do whatever he needs to help trickle it down to the rest of the offense. We know there's things that we got to get better at. Our offense was not what we envisioned, last year in terms of the production. We know there's things we have to be better at, and we will be better at. We know this process works. We've done it before. And with the people that are up here, there's no guessing about, does this process work? I wonder what's going to happen. We know it works. And we just got to stay on that path, and expect that out of the players and get in there and coach them up and have a great offseason, have a great spring, and then just take it on into the summer and into fall camp. But we're very fired up about that process. Love what we have coming back, the players we have back, how we've been able to mix and match some different things. Very excited about where we can take it, and to ultimately, like I said, be more productive in the fall is what we're all after. There were some things we're proud of how we played last year. There were some things we did really well, but we know that there's things that we also got to do better as well. And then in terms of bringing in a transfer quarterback, really that just had to do with bringing in some depth, a guy that's played some in his past. One of my best friends in this business is John Summerall, the head coach at Tulane. Spoke really highly of Kai and his character, who he is as a person. somebody I felt really comfortable bringing into the quarterback room and letting him go out there and compete.
Jimmy, internal promotions for you and for Michael, how important is that continuity for this offensive staff?
Yeah, I think it's huge because, like I said, we know it needs to be done. There's confidence. When you've done it together, you've been through a rebuild together, you started from the bottom, and then you took it to a certain height. We know what it looks like. We know what it takes. And utmost faith in Coach Switz. We've been together. I've known him since 2016 at Michigan as well. Enormous amount of faith in what he's going to be able to do with that position and where we're going to be able to take this thing.
Coach Switzer, what brought you to Washington? You obviously didn't know that Brennan Carroll would be leaving right now. And also, how many times have you been asked if you're related to Barry Switzer?
Every time I'm in front of a camera, and I am not related to Barry Switzer. But what brought me to Washington, I was at Arizona for 2 years on that staff. At that time, I was working with Coach Graham and the running backs. Coach Fisch called me up and asked if I'd be interested in joining the staff there. So seeing what they were doing there after year one and working with Coach Fisch and Jimmy D in the past, it was a no-brainer to join that staff and thought it was a great opportunity. After the 2 years at Arizona, Coach Fisch came here, and everybody else you see up here was also a no-brainer. Okay, we talk about working with these guys, understanding what the expectation is. I wanted to continue to be a part of that, so that's what brought me to Washington.
Jimmy, Damon, you mentioned Damon being the man from day one this season, but when he showed what he could do, towards the end of the year, was there any part of you worried that he might try to look elsewhere? Just that's the nature of college football today.
I mean, yeah, you're always a little bit worried, but I think ultimately, relationships still matter. And what you build with somebody on a day-to-day basis, I wasn't that worried. I can tell you that. But, like I said, I think Damon looks at it the same way. I think he's proud and happy with what he was able to accomplish in year one, but he knows there's so much more out there for him and for this offense and for this team and this program. And I think he's more focused from the beginning on that, where we can take this thing and where he needs to get better and where we ultimately all can get better at.
Coach Cummings, can you talk about the acquisition of Omari Evans and why he was a guy that you guys really targeted when some other stuff happened?
Yeah, we've got a lot of guys on our team right now that we have a lot of confidence in. The thing that we were just lacking is a little bit of leadership and a little bit of a veteran presence in the group. And so for us, that was something that we looked at as a staff of what we needed to bring in. And we also wanted an element of speed, right? We know that, speed, in your offense, especially at the receiver position, changes the game. So looking at what we had, looking at what was available in the portal, our top priority was to get some legit speed into the room.
Scotty, what does it do for your guys' offense, for your run game, to get someone like Jonah to commit so early on and announce, hey, I'm coming back. I'm coming back for my senior year. What does that do for you guys?
It just adds again to family atmosphere. We talk about UW. Jonah's familiar with us, and it was important for him to graduate. Always set an example for the guys, and we challenged them all the time. Graduation is still important. Relationships are still important. With the portal now, people better, and they should remember why they're going to college. And again, Jonah's just a tremendous leader in the room, along with Adam Muhammad. But, Jonah's been one that's been raised since day one with us, and the familiarity with our staff, obviously Coach Switz and everybody on this podium, that's a good feeling for him.
Jordan, you have a whole bunch of tight ends coming in and returning, but you have three of them that are coming off injuries. We're talking Quentin Moore, Charlie Crowell, and Ryan Otten. Will those three be ready for spring football, or could you give us an update on them?
Yeah, everybody's going to have their own varying degree of readiness for spring. Majority of them were ready to go from day one. As a lot of those injuries, I feel we'll have had enough time to be able to comfortably say that those guys should be operating near or at 100% to be able to go compete on day one. And then Charlie is just going to be a matter of time, quite honestly, especially with something that substantial happening in August. But, the nice thing about it is, if there were, with the rehab times, especially with lower extremities, in the recovery process in Charlie's scenario, we're looking forward to be able to doing something on the latter half spring as well, to be able to see how he's going to contribute.
I'm kind of a hidden resource because he's been kind of dinged up since he got here and hasn't really played much, but, has the real high pedigree in his family at tight end.
Sure. Well, Ryan's kind of been around the gamut just in terms of coordinators and tight end coaches. I feel like he could probably run our installs at this point right now with how much football that he's had. But, for Ryan is just taking it day to day and really trying to commit to his recovery process. And then ultimately just the love that I have for, his brother, his family, all those types of things. Looking forward to see what he can do in the spring.
The addition of Dusty Zimmer, is there a change in style to what you guys want to do from a punt perspective? And just, I guess, generally talk about him because we don't really know anything about him.
Yeah, anytime that you have anybody, especially from the pro camp that's played professional footy down in Australia, it really provides a lot of versatility, quite honestly, in terms of launch points, in terms of, being able to spray the ball around the field with a decent amount of control and location. But ultimately, it gives you a chance to be able to commit to covering down the field and to be able to generate more bodies with more speed, especially as you can hold it and then place it in a variety of different spots during the course of the game.
You've got two really good running backs in your room. In today's world with the transfer portal, how tough is that to keep that door closed and keep them home?
Relationships matter. They really do. We're not going to run away from competition. We're going to run towards relationships, and we'll continue to develop the talents in the room. We have two or three guys that are really good. Jordan Washington's pretty good. He's going to help us out a lot. He redshirted last year. And we have two freshmen that are coming. They're going to be pretty good as well. So, yeah, it's a luxury we have to have Joan and Adam in the room.
Kevin, you guys overhaul the receiver position in terms of the freshman class with Marcus Harris topping it off. Just, I guess, run through us each one of those guys, what makes them stand out. Desmond Roebuck was a Gatorade Player of the Year. So just what was the emphasis on getting so many guys as a freshman? And then what kind of take me through what you saw in each of them?
Yeah, kind of our strategy, both in the past and currently is we want to get guys that love to compete. We want to get guys that know how to win, that play for programs in the high school level that have shown that they learn a lot of football at those programs. Football IQ is something that's big for us. So all the guys that we got in, we got Raiden from IMG, we got Marcus from Mater Dei. Desmond, his team, went undefeated this year. And so, all the guys, Chris Lawson is another one, right, where he came in and his team plays at a high level. I think they had 10 or 15 guys signed to collegiate teams this past year. And so that was our big thing is we want to find guys that have competed at the highest level, at the high school level, and that can come in and give us that competitive edge. To kind of go with some of the leaders that we got, right? We have Denzel Boston, who I think can be one of the best receivers in the country this year. We've got Rashid, who came along throughout the later half of the season and really, really played well in the bowl game, I thought. And then Kevin Green, who missed some of the season, but is a really, really good leader for us. And then Audric Harris, right, who played for us last year. So we wanted to bring in some guys that were willing to come in and compete. And kind of have that competitive edge that you need to win a Big Ten championship.
Michael, you're taking over maybe the most scrutinized unit on this team. What do you think you can bring to this group that maybe is different from BC?
Personal experience in terms of playing the position. Played it in college, played 51 straight, started 51 straight games at Ball State. Had a chance to play in the NFL for the Buffalo Bills in 2011 as an undrafted free agent. And the guys that I've had a chance to coach in the past, whether it be at places like Michigan, Graham Glasgow, who's still playing, Mason Cole, Ben Braden, guys who I coached at John Carroll as all-conference players, at Indiana State as all-conference players. So I'm going to draw a lot from my personal playing experience and all my coaching experience in the past, but making sure that group has to grow. Obviously, that was a tough part. Last year was the consistency up front and having to play a lot of guys, and you lost a lot, but it's my responsibility to make sure that these guys are absolutely keyed into playing the best football and doing exactly what Coach Fisch and Coach Jimmy D wants and how we're going to do it, and be physical and strain to finish. But the emphasis, all of that, has already gotten started. especially this month of January. These guys are doing a great job coming together, doing extra work, working their butts off in the weight room. But a mentality to physically, strain is something that we're going to focus on and be consistent.
You've got Drew has a party coming back at right tackle, but Carver Willis coming in. Does Carver strike you as more of a right tackle or left tackle?
Coach talked about it earlier. He's got to be able to do both. He played multiple positions at Kansas State, predominantly right tackle, and played really, really at a high level. Drew doing it here for the entire last season. We're going to move some pieces around here this spring and see what gives us the best option. But you've got 4 tackles on this roster, including Drew, Carver, Sawane, and Max McCree, who have all started games. Obviously, some more than others. But that position is one that has the most experience up front in the offensive line. But really excited to see Carver work, installing the offense with him this whole past month. Him and Guerin and some of these new freshmen has been really good. But Carver's going to bring a unique consistency, I think, to us, whether it is at the left side or the right side.
Is the goal to find those 5 guys coming out of spring ball, or do you kind of tell yourself we're going to take fall camp as well before we narrow down to the 5 guys?
Coach Fisch talked about it. Competition this spring is incredibly important. Didn't have, at points, there were 7 guys, I think, for practice last spring. So it's a little bit different situation. We've got 16 scholarship guys, 2 walk-ons, so 18 total guys in the spring, which is fantastic. Seeing who's going to play where. Okay, what are these freshmen going to do? Coach talked about these guys coming in 6'5", 350 plus, whatever it is. Awesome opportunity for them to show what they can do. So as much as we can, we want to do our best to put these guys in position to say, hey, this could be the starting 5, or this could be the 6th or 7th who are going to get a lot more reps, whatever it might be. But by no means are we saying we've got to have our starting 5 locked down this spring. We've got all summer for these guys to work as well as fall camp. But as soon as you can find that out, obviously you'd like to.
How do you feel you've grown as a coach? Because it looks like you joined Jedd Fisch's staff at Arizona as an offensive analyst, but not as an on-field position coach. What was it, I guess, about that opportunity to maybe take a step back, or how have you seen yourself grow under Coach Fisch?
Absolutely. After you called it yourself, you learn from people in front of you, and Coach Fisch was one of those people. I went to John Carroll and ran his offense. I ran a Harbaugh-style running game. But as you call it yourself, you start to do things, you branch off, you start to experiment, and then coming back full circle and being with Coach Fisch, you start to look at it from a different angle in terms of being an analyst and the things that I was responsible for doing, game planning and looking at specific things. It put me in a different outlook and not being responsible for a position per se. So I thought that was very, very valuable to be able to look at that. And that's what I've done in essence the last 3 years for him, at a point with the running backs at Arizona and the offensive line here. But my background being the position coach and being able to step back and look at it from a bigger picture has been invaluable to me in terms of game planning process and how you look at things. So it's been really nice.
And you were the one that had the key relationship that got Max McCree from Iowa Central, right? I think you were the coach that he credited, or somebody credited.
Yeah, so recruited him actually I saw him at a camp in St. Louis in 2018. He was ineligible coming out, so I had to go to junior college, but loved him at camp and saw that he was an All-American junior college for 2 years at Iowa Central Community College. Went to Maryland, had some things happen, personally with his family. And one of those guys you never unfollow on Twitter. And he shows up and he's back on the market. And I said, oh my God, we need a tackle. He wasn't cleared until I forget which game it was last season. He finds out it was an hour before the game, and he played that game. So that was a huge deal, being able to get him to come and join our football team, and we're excited about Max and his future here and how he'll develop. So,
Jordan, you've worked with Jimmy a long time. Is he technically your boss now?
I like that question, Softy. I like that.
Technically, he's always been my boss. I think, the relationship with Coach Doherty that we've had, he's known me since I've been 16 or 17 years old. Recruited me to go to the University of San Diego. Has a great relationship with my immediate family, my parents. And, hopefully that's one of the threads that you see when we talk about our staff just collectively. Very seldomly do you get a chance to work with guys that you trust, that you love, that you've grown over the better part of a decade, and that's what we have here. And that's what I appreciate about the culture that Coach Fisch establishes here. And I think that's why you start to see is, there's nothing but unwavering trust, with us amongst Coach Switzer and his ability and Coach Van Horn on the defensive side of the staff. I think those guys are going to step up and rip it, and I think you guys are going to be really, really proud about the product they put out there.
For the defensive guys, there's a lot of new faces at that table. Not the case with you guys. How beneficial is that, you think, that there's a lot?
Yeah, I think it's huge. It goes back to talking about the process and having that confidence that it works. It's not that you're not always looking for new ways to improve and get better. We're always trying to do that. But knowing that we've been through it together and knowing that we can trust each other, everybody up here knows how it's supposed to look and what needs to be coached and what needs to be taught, there's zero flinch, and I think there's a lot of confidence that comes out of that. And I know our players will feel that too. They'll continue to feel that, and we'll get this thing right.
Coach Cummings, you talked about bringing in a receiver to bring some experience and leadership into that room. Maybe give us a young guy or two that you're really excited and we should keep our eye on to, jump out in spring ball.
Yeah, I think I think Rasheed, being a redshirt freshman for us this past season, and then kind of growing throughout the season. I think he's somebody that's going to continue to grow. We've challenged him to continue to get stronger and continue to learn our offense, and he's taken that by storm. He's really stepped up that way over the past months since we've gotten back from the bowl game. So I'm really, really proud of him and excited for him. And then as far as the young guys are concerned, I think they're all going to have a really good opportunity to show something. Like I think they all bring something different to the game. You've got Raiden, who's a bigger body, but with legit speed. That can go out there. You got Chris Lawson, that is just a ball player, finds a way to make plays wherever he's at on the field. So I really like him. And then Marcus, he goes out there and they go. I believe they went undefeated this year with Dash, right? They go out there and they produce together and they played at a high level. So really, I'm really excited about all of them. They're all going to have to put in the work. They're all going to have to learn our offense and get the details right of our offense. But I think with the leadership of Kevin Green and with the leadership of Denzel Boston, I think those guys will get all of our young guys in a spot throughout the spring where you can count on all of them.
Scotty, Quaid Carr and Julian McMahon. What should fans expect from them as freshmen? Julian, legit 6'2", 220, 230 at this point, looks like?
Learn the system, learn the culture, and provide help on special teams immediately.
Jimmy, what's the quarterback?
Just one more. I don't want to get into the Jonte Cook stuff, but one of the reasons I thought that you brought him in was to take the top off the defense and that deep threat. Who do you have right now that can be that guy to get deep and take the top off the defense?
Yeah, I think Denzel showed you this year that he can go up top. He had a bunch of explosive plays for us this past year. I think, in the bowl game, both Rasheed and Audric showed you that they have that ability. I think there was one play that we had. Now, obviously, Giles was the feature. He shined in that game, so that was a lot of fun. But you saw some plays that probably didn't, the ball didn't get passed to those guys, but you saw Audric run past people. And so I think, the mix of Denzel, Audric, and Rasheed right now will be some guys that we really lean on when it comes to our deep vertical pass game. But Denzel showed us that all season, so we'll lean on that for sure.
Jimmy, 4 or 5 QBs, 5 too many?
5 too many QBs?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's too many. There is one ball, though, so you got to be mindful of that and making sure guys get the reps that are required. But we'll be smart about it. Coach Fisch will do a great job of organizing practice where we can, 2 fields or whatever it might be, so guys are getting reps and doing it that way and making sure that we're just progressing that way. But obviously, having a transfer coming in and 2 true freshmen, we want to make sure those guys are progressing, and that's why it starts now. We don't wait till spring ball to start that process. So making sure those guys are caught up to speed.
What was that process in taking 2? Because obviously Devon was the unquestioned one last year, but taking 2 in one class, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, I think just not too much other than just where the overall numbers were at that point in time, wanting to take 2, and of course you hope they stay the whole time. That is part of today's day and age. But yeah, you definitely had opportunity to add two really good players, one that won a national championship at Mater Dei and another one that was a Gatorade Player of the Year in Hawaii as a junior. So two really good players that we're certainly excited to have here.
Jordan, just curious, you talked about Dusty Zimmer, but also getting a transfer long snapper. How does that fit into kind of revamping the punt game?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things with Ryan Keene is you put on his tape and the success that he was able to have at Utah Tech. Just the addition of getting people down the field and more bodies to be able to surround the returner to force fair catches, improve the overall net punt numbers right here. That was our biggest emphasis. And then being able to supplement that with some protection work, I think, and like everything, competition is going to be the central theme of our program. Specialists are not exempt from that as well.